Hi everyone, I'm Sela Kim. Welcome to tonight's WDSU Hot Seat. Today we're talking about the Slidell mayor's race. This is to fill the rest of former Mayor Greg Cromer's term. He went to serve in the Governor Landry's administration, so he's working for the state. This term will last through next June. Joining us are two candidates who qualified for the position. Current interim mayor Bill Borchert, Republican, and also current police chief of Slidell, Randy Fandel. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
So we always start with opening statements to tell us why you think you're the best candidate to be mayor of Slidell. We're going to go alphabetically, so we'll start with you, Mayor Borchert. Why do you think you're the best person and best candidate for this seat?
Well, Sela, thank you. Thank you and WDSU for hosting this, for allowing us to be here today. My name is Bill Borchert. I am the current mayor of the city of Slidell. I was trained and have been trained as an engineer when a graduate of Louisiana Tech in petroleum engineering. I have a problem solution mindset. I'm a retired successful businessman. I've created jobs, I've made payrolls, and I've dealt with the government red tape, so I understand what it means to fight with City Hall. We just celebrated the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and during that time I had a 70-foot pine tree come through my building, and it caused a lot of damage. So I turned my garage into a dormitory and housed over 2,000 volunteers to bring them, help rebuild the community. And that's what got me into public service. I've been consistently delivering results for our community. I am a results-oriented individual. I don't just make promises, but I get things done. And thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Chief Fandel, tell us why you think you're the best candidate to be mayor of Slidell.
Well, also, I'd like to thank WDSU and yourself for inviting us here. My name is Randy Fandel, and I'm standing before you today not as a politician, but as a lifelong public servant, a father, a grandfather, and a proud son of Slidell. Family is at the heart of everything I do, and I want Slidell to be a place where children and our grandchildren can thrive. For 45 years, I've served this city and our state, from patrolman to chief of police. I've led hundreds of people and managed million-dollar budgets, and I've made the tough decisions. I've led Slidell to a decade low in violent crime, secured millions for public safety, and I've always put our community first. I'm running for mayor because I believe in hard work, accountability, and making sure every tax dollar is spent wisely. My promise is simple. I'll bring hands-on leadership, real results, and a commitment to keep Slidell safe, strong, and prosperous for every family. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief Fandel. All right, we got some issues we need to talk about for Slidell. Let's start with the chronic drainage issue. I know it's been a problem. So if you are elected mayor, what will you do to upgrade the drainage problem and prevent flooding? We'll start with you, Chief Fandel, because I know you talked about Gauze Boulevard and they have a chronic flooding issue there. So how will you prioritize draining upgrades and also talk about how you can secure funding for those projects?
Thank you. Gauze Boulevard, everybody knows when it rains, it floods on Gauze. That's been a chronic problem for years. I've recently went and looked at a study that the Department of Transportation and Development had done 5 years ago. And there's 4 blockages along Gauze Boulevard. And it's about time that we act on those blockages and start clearing them out. That's obviously, we've had Mardi Gras for 4 or 5, for 20 years in Slidell. There's got to be blockages down there. So I'm really looking forward to getting in the job and making sure our actions clear up the problem.
All right. And Mayor Borchert, what is your plan to upgrade the drainage projects, and how do you plan to secure funding for those projects you have in mind?
Great question. You know, my background in engineering makes me uniquely qualified to deal with issues relative to drainage. About 2 months ago, I tasked our engineering department to go look at the drainage in and along Gauze Boulevard as well as Punch Train Drive. Just in the last 8 months, we have already initiated 2 different detention projects just within the last 8 months. One of them we're getting ready to cut ribbon on tomorrow. It's called the Rickey Retention Pond off of Ponce Train Drive, and it's going to help a lot with the flooding on Ponce Train Drive. The second one is some property that we just acquired last month off of Orange Street between Gauze and Fremo, which will help alleviate some of the storm damage. It's about 4 acres that we're going to turn into a detention pond. And my engineer came back with a report right before one of the previous forums that there are 4 blockages along Gauze Boulevard. one at Ruvarand, 2 at Rue Rochelle, and 1 up by the TA truck stop. Our Public Works crew are going to be in there next week finding out what those blockages are and clearing them.
All right, let's move on to Northshore Mall. This has been a hot button topic. I understand that since the couple of last debates you guys had, now there is a tentative agreement to buy the struggling mall for $14 million. No development plan or study, because I know Chief Vandal, you were talking about how you were on a wait until there's a study completed, and the sales tax would be raised in the EDD. If elected, what is your plan for the mall? What kind of vision do you have? We'll start with you, Mr. Borchert, because I know initially you said you don't believe in investing in these big buildings anymore because it's kind of archaic. Well, now there's a tentative agreement. So what is your plan and vision for the mall to see it come through?
I wouldn't say that I don't believe in investing in the buildings. I don't think that malls, from a retail standpoint, are still a viable thing. There's been over 1,000 malls that have been constructed since the 60s. Over 500 of them are in some type of disrepair and in need. Our own Esplanade Mall here, I met with some of their team leaders last week to figure out how we managed to do what we did in Slidell that they're looking to do over here. I can tell you that since the announcement of our study and since the announcement of the letter of intent, I've had 4 different out-of-state investors come and show interest in that property for doing a development. I just met yesterday with an investor who's interested in doing a $700 to $800 million investment and improvement in that particular property. I met with another investor about 2 weeks ago that had a $100 million plan. And so the reality is that it takes vision to move the community forward, and brighter days are ahead for Slidell.
Can you tell us and elaborate on what kind of development these developers are talking about? It's been struggling for decades. So if Morguard couldn't come through with a good vision for that area, what is the next kind of vision that'll help that struggling mall?
Well, as part of the study that the EDD commissioned, 2 of the things that have risen to the top, one of them was a light manufacturing or assembly type facility, and then the other one was an 8,000 to 10,000 seat arena where we could do high school graduations, where we could do concerts, where we could do indoor sporting events and those kind of things. Those are 2 that came from the study, that have risen up from the study. Some of the other ones that I've been talking to, one of the individuals was talking about a potential arena in the 100 million range.
Okay, one more quick question for you on that. I have a question. How will you involve the public so they can offer their opinions on this project? And then second, a lot of people are talking about the 1% sales tax in the EDD to fund this mall. How do you plan to kind of assuage some of those concerns for taxpayers?
Well, great question. Two things. The first question that you asked dealt with the development of the property, and then the second is the funding of the development. The funding of the development, the new North Shore Economic Development District expansion and tax is actually equal to one of the other EDDs that we've had in place for over 10 years. And so the reality is that it is a new tax to that district, but it's not even a new tax to our local citizens. They've been paying that in the Camellia Square Economic Development District for nearly 10 years.
All right. Chief Vandal, what is your plan for the mall?
Well, let me start with there is no plan. As of October 1st, they're going to add a 1-cent sales tax out there on every business along North Shore Boulevard.
Yeah.
I am against that 100%. I think we need to slow down, and we need to be transparent about it. We need to bring the city paid $100,000 to have a study done. We haven't even gotten the study back. We need to bring that study back, put it in front of the voters and the citizens of Slidell. It's their money. It's not our money. We have to allow them to give their feedback. And if they want to support the plans for the mall, when we find out what the plans are, I'd be all for it.
Do you have a plan or a vision for the mall?
I would like to see an investor come in. I don't think the city's in a position where we need to start buying real estate. I want an investor to come in and show us a good plan for the mall, and I'd back that 100%.
But it sounds like Mayor Borchert is already in talks with some of these developers. Do you have a response to what Chief Vandal said?
The difference is reactive and proactive. That's the biggest difference, and you're seeing it right here.
Do you want to rebut to that?
Yeah. They're not proactive. They haven't brought in a plan. If you're proactive, you're going to bring in the plan, and you're going to present it to the citizens of Slidell, especially when you're talking about their money.
All right, let's move on then. Let's talk about, speaking of stimulating the economy in Slidell, what is your plan, if elected, to boost the economy of Slidell? Give me a concrete idea you have to possibly bring the next Amazon facility or some high-paying jobs and to stimulate the economy of Slidell. We'll start with you, Chief Handel. Do you have any plans or ideas?
Yes, we're located in a beautiful area. Logistically, we're right at the I-10, I-12, I-59 split. We're perfectly located between New Orleans and Stennis. I would like to see high-paying IT jobs come into the area. And there's also, we're not going to survive forever on sales tax. We need to start bringing some light industry and light manufacturing in there. And I have met with the owner of the old port, Slidell Port, used to be Southern Shipyard. And I would love to see an industry come in there and set up there. And I plan on working on that.
All right, thank you. Mayor Borchert, what is your idea to stimulate the economy?
I think I've shown it with the mall. You know, I'm a visionary, and I see things that a lot of other people don't see, and I see an opportunity to advance our community and allow economic development to not only grow but to thrive. And the mall is just one example of it. Amazon opened up on August 22nd. Next Wednesday is their grand opening and their ribbon cutting for the public, and so we have a lot of great things going on in Slidell.
Okay, thank you. Let's talk about the Bayou Patasse project. I know that's been the talker in this campaign. I'll start with you, Mayor Borchert, and I guess this question is for you. You have property on Bayou Patasse. As a result, you recused yourself from voting on the matter, which was good initially. This was in December 17th, 2019. But then when it came to other matters involving the project, you did not recuse yourself. What is your response to people who claim you violated the Code of Ethics because you voted on matters that involve federal funding and that there was clearly a conflict of interest?
Well, the key word in your question is clearly. There is no evidence of any unethical behavior, any illegal behavior, or any even immoral behavior on me purchasing those properties. The project is in phases, and phase one is the only one that has been funded so far. It's been funded by nearly $15 million between state and federal money, and it stops on the west side of 3rd Street. All of my properties are on the east side of 3rd Street or on 6th Street. And so the reality is that I reached out to Mayor Cromer to get him to purchase the properties on behalf of the city, and his comment was, the city's not in the real estate business. I'm not doing it. And so I know that one of the properties that is within the first phase has actually been developed into a big, beautiful residence. And the city could have used that when I reached out to him to do that. And so that's where the vision and moving forward. And I knew that if somebody else bought the property, and it came up on the market, it was listed for sale, is the only reason I got it.
Mayor Borchert, if there was no clear conflict of interest, then why did you recuse yourself initially? You were picking and choosing which matters you vote on, but you didn't recuse yourself on other matters. So why didn't you just recuse yourself on all matters involving the project because of the optics of impropriety?
Because the original one included the entire project. The rest of them have all been phase one.
Okay. Do you want to respond to that, Chief Handel?
Absolutely. Our home rule charter specifically talks about conflict of interest. A sitting elected official should not purchase any property where they know the city has a financial interest in that property in the future. And obviously, after that project was approved, the city had a financial interest in the future. And no sitting official should have went out and purchased property. And if they did, they should have made it known publicly.
Do you want to respond to that? Did you disclose to the council, and were you fully transparent to all governing bodies?
It's all part of the public record. There's no non-transparency there. It's all part of the public record. If I was trying to hide it, I would have never put it in my own name. The properties are listed in my own name.
Then why did you recuse yourself initially?
Because it was the entire project.
Oh,
I didn't own the
yours
property
is
in
only-
2019.
How many properties do you own?
Oh, God, I don't know, 15?
I think it's 16.
Yeah, 16, you know better than I do.
Do you want to rebut to that? Do you have a response?
Just, I stand by my statement. He had 16 of the properties are one lump sum right off of 6th Street in Slidell. And that property was purchased well after the whole Bayou Patasse project was approved.
Okay, all right. Okay, this question is for you. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Borchert? Okay, let's move on then. Chief Vandal, why did you let the police accreditation lapse? You said it's because the city wasn't getting its money's worth. Can you explain a little bit more on that and what kind of services you're using now that benefit citizens and make sure that everyone is safe in Slidell?
When I became chief in 2016, we were nationally accredited. And we had an employee that was doing nothing but doing the accreditation process for us. It was very expensive. We weren't getting our money's worth out of it. And we weren't getting the specific to the laws of state of Louisiana. And during one of our conferences I went to, I met Lexipol, a company that's housed here in Louisiana. And they are specific to the laws of Louisiana. They send us, if a law changes, they immediately send us a new policy to look at that law. So it was a no-brainer for me. We weren't getting what we were paying for through the accreditation process. Now we're actually getting positive results with the new policies that are being written with Lexipol.
Okay, and one more quick question for you, Chief Vandal, and you have 30 seconds to answer this. What do you say to people who say you have no business background? I know you come from a very successful law enforcement background, but some people say you have no business acumen. What's your response to that?
Well, the successes that I've had in law enforcement really have not much to do with the law enforcement itself. I'm a proven leader. I've been leading and managing statewide projects since 1998, basically. I have proven that I can talk about proactive. I'm very proactive when it comes to visions. I can see what needs to be done, and I address the situation, and I get it done.
All right, thank you so much, Chief Vandal. All right, gentlemen, we have only time for closing arguments now, so closing statements. We'll start with you, Mayor Borchert, since you started. 60 seconds to tell us why you want to be mayor.
So I've enjoyed being mayor for the last 8 months, and I'd love to continue to serve the citizens of Slidell. Many of the great quality of life projects that you see around the city of Slidell over the last 2 decades have been, my wife and I have been personally involved in. I've been involved with the I-12 sound barrier wall, the Heritage Park Marina, the camellia glass bloom tree on Brown Switch Road, the Pelicans on Parade, the antique umbrella alley, even the $70 million worth of FEMA infrastructure that came from Hurricane Katrina, and even the dedicated police funding. Our hearts are always with Slidell. I can tell you Slidell still has a bright future, but it's going to take someone with vision, experience, and proven results to get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Borchert. Chief Vandal, why do you want to be mayor of Slidell?
For 45 years, I've served. I was elected chief 9 years ago. I've done everything I said I was set out to do when I became chief. I've been a very successful police chief. We now have one of the best and most professional police departments in our country. Overall crime is down, and we have a 10-year low in violent crime. I increased officer retention, and we're in the process of building a new state-of-the-art police headquarters. My opponent's been in office 17 years, and the trace still hasn't been completed in the Heritage Park. Gauze Boulevard still floods when it rains. There's empty commercial buildings and blight in our city. The recreation sports fields for our youth have been in decline for years. And Northshore Mall, Outlet Mall, and Target shopping centers are all virtually empty. He's had 17 years to address these issues, and he hasn't done it. If elected mayor, I will, and I have the track record to prove it.
All right, thank you so much. Chief Randy Vandal and also Mayor Bill Borchert, both men are on the ballot. October 11th is the election, and we have much more on this debate and all the election information you need to know on WDSU.com.